A sharp, panicked voice cut through the dense drumming of the rain. "Ellie! Ellie, hey, get up! Get up!" The words were Coco's, vibrating near her ear, competing with the incessant rhythmic thud of the downpour. Ellie surfaced from unconsciousness, her face damp not just from the rainfall, but from the frantic wet licking of Toby upon her face. "Ugh! Ugh!" she gasped, flinching violently forwards into a sitting position. A cough rattled in her chest, a reaction that sent Toby tumbling off her chest like a beach ball. She slapped her hands down onto the wet mud, blinking the light from her eyes and surveying her immediate surroundings with a wild, disoriented gaze. They had gone from the violent churning whirlpool to suddenly beneath the base of a massive stone structure, a statue dedicated to 4 kid wraith-like beings. These wraiths were sculpted in the image of magicians, all frozen in enthusiastic poses, their wide smiles and impossibly tall hats tilted toward the cascading rain. The world outside their shelter was a tapestry of bizarre color. The trees glowed fiercely in shades of orange, yellow, and deep red, their smooth bark white like birch, but somehow luminous. The ground was littered with fragments of red glass crystals, and the air hummed with a strange electrical energy, peppered by thousands of fireflies that bloomed and faded like scattering stars. The rain, instead of being teal, was orange in this area. Ellie's gaze snapped to her side. Her trusted baseball bat lay half submerged in the muck. She snatched it up, the cold wooden handle feeling like a sudden anchor in the chaos. "Ugh, Cokes, what happened? Where is everyone?" Ellie demanded, turning toward her friend. Coco, kneeling beside her, looked pale beneath the unusual light, instantly lunging into Ellie's embrace. I don't know. We were launched out of a portal here. The others didn't follow. I think we got separated somehow," she cried, shivering, clinging to Ellie's soaked jacket. "I'm scared." Ellie instinctively tightened her hold, her own fear instantly eclipsed by the need to protect. Her mind snapped into a more serious, focused stare. "Whoa, hey, relax. I'm here. It's going to be okay," she assured, taking a steadying breath before gently easing Coco away, her only visible eye locked on her friend's anxious face. "It's going to be okay, dude. Are you certain we got separated?" she asked. "Positive," Coco insisted, pulling back enough to wipe rain and tears from her face. She nodded toward the small dog, who barked persistently into the dense, colorful tree line, whining for them to move on. "Toby's been barking for a while. I think he's trying to find Jaida. You know how he gets when he's separated from her," Coco added, watching the dog. Ellie considered this. Toby was intensely loyal, and had a rather good nose. "You think he could lead us to her?" Ellie asked, as they both slowly rose to their feet. "He seems eager." Coco eyed the dog for a moment, then nodded reluctantly. "Hopefully, but I'm not sure how far his nose can reach and wherever we are." The dog looked back, barked a final impatient command, and began waddling quickly towards the shifting, glowing forest. Ellie sighed, resting the bat over her shoulder. "Well, can't say we have better options. I don't even think cell service will work out here." Coco pulled her phone from her pocket, confirming the dead screen. "Everything's soaked anyways," she murmured, putting it away. Then, shyly, she reached out her hand, tapping the back of it against Ellie's free one. Ellie looked down at the gesture, then up at Coco's nervous, scared, and slightly blushing face. Ignoring the sudden bloom of heat on her own cheeks, Ellie gently took Coco's smooth, 3-fingered hand. Coco blushed deeper, looking away into the luminous trees. It's going to be okay, Ellie repeated, her voice softer this time, imbued with a fierce protectiveness. I won't let anything happen to you. She began to move forwards, following Toby. Coco nodded, clinging close. The more foresty side of Ophis was an odd, unsettling place. The plant life was colossal, consisting of massive alien flora that emanated soft light as they gently swayed. Flying squirrel-like creatures with iridescent wings leapt between the glowing branches, and the rain remained a steady, glowing orange mist. The girls followed Toby through the rough, slick terrain, passing forgotten Wraith statues half swallowed by thick mud. They were quiet for a long time, their footsteps and the steady pattern of the rain the only sounds. They were worried, yes, but also immensely curious, following the determined dog as he tracked Jaida's scent. What an odd place, Coco finally stated, gazing up at a tree whose upper branches seemed to fizzle with glowing pollen. Did you ever imagine us ending up somewhere like this? Ellie ducked under a massive, low-hanging branch that pulsed with a faint orange light. I mean, after Jaidas started dating an alien from a different world and we got kidnapped by a giant crystal fascist, I guess I can say I have. Coco chuckled nervously as they then came across a heavy, multi-way river stream, a violent one at that. Toby turned, trotting along the bank, and Coco and Ellie followed suit. Yeah, you're right. That was a dumb question, Coco conceded. Guess that's the deal when that's who we associate with. She squeezed Ellie's hand tighter. Ellie noticed the increased grip. She wanted to reassure Coco. Gently, she slid her arm around Coco's, locking them together. I mean it when I say I won't let anything happen to you, Ellie assured her, her voice dropping to a low, intense rumble. If anything tries to lay a finger on you, I'll break their arms, rip out their teeth, and use their hair to turn those teeth into my own personal trophy necklace. Coco's eyes went wide, a flush rising to her cheeks that totally had nothing to do with the barbaric words of her protector. Oh, she stammered. That's a bit overkill, don't you think? Ellie smirked, twirling her bat slightly on her shoulder. Well, unlike our favorite astral knight, I don't have such restrictions, she replied. I still can't believe Voyd didn't take his chance to take out, what was her name, Viona Vexai? Ellie rambled, twisting the name. Viexa. And have some respect on him, Ellie, Coco replied, kicking a shiny glowing rock across the muddy bank. I understand why you were upset. Hell, I was upset when he said he spared her. But you gotta see things from Voyd's perspective sometimes. Coco looked ahead, her expression thoughtful. There was a day at the aquarium, actually, where I genuinely asked him why he didn't execute his enemies. Ones that had souls, that is. We know how his mother was, how his people were. I wanted a real, in-depth explanation. Ellie raised an eyebrow. Did you get one? Coco nodded. The fall of Salvaheim messed him up. Big time. More than he's willing to let on. But there was one key thing he took away from it. Coco took a breath. It made Voyd realize that life is a precious thing. He sees the beauty in everything now. He really emphasized that to me while pointing at a school of jellyfish. Coco finished with a small, proud smile. He knows that there are some beings in this universe that do terrible things. He's not stupid. Beings that he's willing to take on to the near brink of death. Yet, even so, he's willing to hold back. Coco went on, looking ahead at the vibrant trees, He told me that to kill something, or worse, someone, to extinguish a soul, would make him no different to Lotus. He asked me, what if it's someone's mother, someone's father, their child? That's the weight he won't carry. Coco revealed. He's good with mindless husks, extensions of one's being like Lotus's glitches to even robots. But a being with its own free will, the ability to make a better choice, he'd rather give someone that chance to live and change than to strike him down. Coco finished, turning to Ellie. I get the frustration, believe me, but there's a great weight of respect there. To think someone like him didn't go off the deep end, but retain a moral code after all he went through at such a young age is... well, I think it's inspiring. Coco let the rain douse her head, a peaceful expression on her face. Ellie thought on this for a moment, chewing on the inside of her lip. I mean, that's fair, I guess. Never thought of it like that. She then gave Coco a smug grin. Unfortunately, that doesn't change the fact I don't have that kind of boundary. Especially when it comes to being your own, I coaxed her. Coco rolled her eyes and smiled. Okay, you're such a sweetheart. They both blushed, looking away bashfully from each other. Their grips, intertwined, then locked, grew tighter. You've got a strong grip there. Ellie nervously chuckled, feeling the pressure. Sorry, I can let go if you want. Coco replied, immediately worrying she had been too forward. Ellie shook her head, pulling her close. Nah, it's... She was abruptly cut off. Toby, who had been waddling silently along the stream edge, had stopped dead. His playful demeanor vanished, replaced by a low, guttural whine and a tense crouch, staring into the thicket ahead. Whoa, buddy, what's wrong? Coco asked, her voice suddenly laced with concern as she scooped the chunky dog into her arms. Toby's eyes, wide and suddenly glistening, darted around. His entire body trembled, becoming a quivering mess of fur. It was then that a foul odor assaulted their senses. A sickeningly sweet, putrid stench that spoke of rot, decay, and death. Oh, what the hell is that? Ellie exclaimed, her hand clamped over her nose and mouth, a grimace contorting her features. Coco, her own face buried in Toby's trembling fur, coughed. Jesus! That's awful! Ugh. She managed, her words muffled against the dog's coat. Composing herself, Ellie's gaze sharpened, her free hand instinctively readying her baseball bat. She moved forwards, slowly, with Coco following close behind, Toby still clutched tightly. Together, they cautiously pushed through the dense thicket, parting the plants like reluctant curtains. What lay beyond stole their breath, their jaws suddenly slacking in stunned disbelief. There, sprawled on the side of the riverbank, was a creature. It was colossal, its form vaguely feline but grotesquely disproportionate. Luminescent teal skin shimmered across its body, interspersed with constellations of tiny pulsing white and green stars. A multitude of limbs, more than any natural creature should possess, extended from its torso. Its feline shape was undeniable. Pointed ears twitched, and long, double-spiked stiff cheek tufts jutted out. Yet this was no ordinary cat. The monster's back was to them, and it was actively engaged in a gruesome feast. The air throbbed with the wet, tearing sounds of flesh and the sickening crunch of bone. The stench of decay intensified. With a tail that ended in a massive hand, The creature tore away scraps of its meal, tossing aside unwanted parts with guttural grumbles and groans. The girls watched, paralyzed by the sheer horror of the spectacle. "What the?" Ellie huffed. Suddenly, Toby let out a growl, a rumble of primal fear that echoed in the heavy air. Coco's webbed fingers snapped shut over his muzzle, muffling the sound. The beast's ears twitched, a subtle shift that sent a jolt of adrenaline through the girls. They shrank back into the concealment of the bush. "What the hell? What the hell?" Coco whispered, her voice trembling. Ellie's knuckles were white where she gripped the bat. "Shh!" she hissed. Slowly, cautiously, she peeked back through the leaves. As if sensing their presence, the colossal animal's head swiveled with an unnerving owl-like jerk. It spun a full 180 degrees, its massive bulbous eyes protruding from their sockets, gazing in opposite directions. The outer edges of these eyes were a milky gray white, but the irises blazed with an intense emerald green, each pupil a tiny white pinprick. Its mouth stretched into a disturbing, impossibly wide smile, revealing rows of yellowed humanoid teeth. A dark round nose sat above its unnerving grin, and 6 thick, glowing green whiskers curled upwards from its face. On its forehead, a single dark star seemed to pulse with a faint internal light. The beast emitted another low grumble, then rose onto its many hand-like feet. It sniffed the air, its gaze seemingly fixed over the hiding place. "What in God's name?" Ellie breathed, pulling Coco and Toby deeper into the brush as the creature lumbered towards them. A startled yelp nearly escaped the frog, and Toby whimpered on, Coco's hand still firm over his mouth. The monster passed so close they could feel the tremors of its massive limbs through the ground. Its many hands stomped heavily on the very spot where they had been moments before. Petrified, the girls edged further back, the beast's shadow flickering through the dense foliage. Ellie's mind raced, a frantic spiral of fear and thought. "Crap, crap, crap, crap!" she muttered, glancing behind them. "That's the way we have to go." Her eyes darted to the river stream beside them. The stench of death was overwhelming, making Coco gag again. They could see the dead animal now, a large, bull-like being lined with scales and feathers. In life, it was surely beautiful, but now it lay as a tangle of shattered limbs and exposed guts. A rather unwelcoming sight for sure. "We gotta move, like, right now. Like, right now," Ellie urged, her voice tight with desperation. "Move to where?" Coco retorted, her own fear giving way to a flicker of defiance. The beast huffed again, its pacing drawing unnervingly close. Ellie's eyes scanned the terrain, finally settling upon a denser cluster of trees ahead. She locked her gaze back on Coco. "There's a big section of trees ahead. If we can make it deep into the woods, we can lose it. It's a big boy, ain't it?" she said, more to affirm her own resolve than to question Coco. She glanced back at the beast, then froze. Her breath hitched. Her eyes widened to impossible proportions. Coco, sensing the sudden shift in Ellie's terror, turned to meet her gaze. Her own reaction mirrored Ellie's. Toby shivered in her arms. Through a small gap in the foliage, a single enormous green eye was fixed on them, and hot, heavy, hungry breath filled the damp air. There was no more thought. With a scream that tore from her throat, Ellie swung her bat, connecting with an audible crack and wet pop against the beast's eyeball. The creature recoiled with a shriek of pain that echoed through the rainy air. "Run! Run now!" Ellie yelled, grabbing Coco's hand, yanking her and Toby along with. They fled, Toby securely tucked under Coco's arm. The massive beast, after a moment of stunned recovery, righted itself. It towered over them, its frame as tall as the surrounding trees, and let out a chilling howl. Several of its hand-like appendages rose in a gesture of menacing clawed forms before it began its pursuit. "What is that thing?" Coco cried as they plunged into the dense woods. The colossal cat followed, its size a drawback in the close trees, its right eye already beginning to swell from Ellie's blow. "Don't know, don't care, keep moving!" Ellie shouted, her voice hoarse. The beast lumbered behind them like a titan. Suddenly, the creature began to ascend. It pulled itself up the massive trunks, leaping from treetop to treetop, each landing a jarring impact that splintered wood. Trees began to fall around the fleeing girls, showering them with debris as the titanic cat continued its pursuit. "Ellie!" Coco cried as they scrambled over rocks and uneven terrain. The ground became treacherous. Ellie glanced at the river again, just as the beast landed behind them with a thud, its monstrous hands reaching, its jaw snapping. She looked at Coco, tears welling in her friend's eyes, and then back at the churning water. "Coco, we gotta get in the water! The current's our only way to outpace this thing!" Ellie yelled. Coco shook her head violently. "What? No! That's suicide!" she cried. "I can't swim!" The beast was closing in, close enough for them to feel its breath on the back of their necks. "Just hang on to me!" Ellie commanded. Without another word, she turned and leapt to the right, pulling Coco and Toby with her. They tumbled down the embankment, hitting the water with a forceful splash, just as the beast's snapping jaws closed on empty air. The cat roared in frustration, now running along the shore. They surfaced, sputtering. Ellie was swimming, Coco was flailing in panic, and Toby, miraculously, paddled along like a furry pool toy. "Ellie!" Coco shrieked, her struggles intensifying. Ellie swam to her, snagging her friend and pulling her head above the water. Toby, unaffected by the chaos, paddled ahead, his tail wagging. The beast roared again, reaching its tail hand into the churning water, its claws swiping inches from where they bobbed. The current, however, was a powerful ally. It was far too swift for the creature of such immense size. One moment, they were narrowly avoiding the beast's grasp. The next, they were being swept downstream. The cat howled in fury as they were carried away, but Ellie's focus shifted. A new immediate threat had emerged. The current was strong, much stronger than anticipated. "I have you! I have you!" Ellie cried, kicking and splashing, her primary objective keeping Coco's head above the water. Toby paddled on without a care in the world. "Ellie! Ellie!" Coco wailed as the current's speed picked up. Ellie began to hyperventilate, her lungs burning and catching water, but she held on with a fierce, desperate grip. "Hang on! Hang on! Cokes!" she gasped as they were tossed above the water and then plunged beneath, a relentless, terrifying rhythm that stretched for what felt like an eternity. "Coco! I have you! I have you!" Ellie assured, her voice barely a whisper against the roar of the water. "I have you!" That was the last coherent thought, for a massive wave crashed over them. And then, all at once, everything went dark. The first sensation Ellie registered was the insistent prickle of coarse, damp sand against her cheek, followed by the drumming of rain. She suddenly awoke, her body heavy and sore, every muscle protesting as she shifted. She laid side first in a patch of strange, obsidian-black sand. Her vision was now unrestricted. Both eyes were exposed as her wet hair was pulled back. She blinked against the unfamiliar dull light of Ophis. A quick scan revealed her baseball bat and her worn cap nestled in the dark grains beside her. At her side, a similar struggle was Coco. Her vibrant red and purple skin was now plastered with wet sand. She was in a similar state of disoriented awakening. She groaned, a pained, wheezing sound escaping her lips as she pushed herself up on trembling arms, her mixed-colored eyes fluttering open. She was alive, battered but breathing. And then there was Toby. The mud sat between them, his rear planted firmly on the black sand. He was panting, his tail wagging a slow, content sway. He seemed utterly unfazed, as per usual. "Coco? Coco!" Ellie hacked, her voice raspy. She scrambled on her knees beside her friend, gently turning Coco onto her back, then helping her into a sitting position. "Coco!" she repeated, softer this time, her hands hovering, unsure of where to offer comfort. Coco strained her eyes, blinking away the lingering fog of unconsciousness, until her gaze finally landed on Ellie. Ellie? She croaked, her voice weak as their eyes locked, a profound sense of relief washing over both of them. "Coco, are you okay?" Ellie's urgent question hung in the air. Coco coughed for a moment, a wet, racking sound, then nodded. Yeah, I'm okay," she managed, finally looking around to collect herself, taking in their surroundings in the strange new world. "I'm sorry. That was a dumb move," Ellie burst out, the brief moment of relief consumed by a familiar wave of what appeared to be self-hate. "I said I would protect you, and all I did was nearly drown us. I'm such an idiot!" Her gaze, now fully exposed and intense, bore into Coco's, her orange eye burning bright. The frog stared at her, perplexed. "But you did protect me. You saved us," Coco interjected, her voice still weak but firm. Ellie shook her head, a wildness in her eyes. "Yeah, but like an idiot! Dumbass!" She snapped back, her voice rising. "I've always been a dumbass, making stupid decisions at the worst possible time. All I do is make situations worse. We could have died. You could have died." Coco gently cocked her head, her expression softening, and raised a weak hand to Ellie's flushed cheek, the wet sand of her skin feeling grounding. "You can't frickin' swim," Ellie continued, oblivious to the touch. "I pulled you in the water because I wasn't thinking straight. It was the only option I could think of." Coco's eyes narrowed, a different kind of intensity replacing the softness. "Ellie," she stated, her voice quiet but laced with a growing resolve. Ellie shook her head again, burying herself deeper in her guilt. "No! For God's sake, just say it already! I'm a big dumbass that only ruins things. If I had let you go, if I had slipped..." Coco inched closer, her hand still resting on Ellie's cheek. "Ellie," she said again, her voice a little louder, a warning beneath her calm surface. "You could have easily been snagged by that Garfield Goliath, whatever the hell it was. We could have been separated. I could have lost you like I lost my brother." The last words escaped Ellie in a choked whisper, the old wound reopening fresh and raw. Coco had heard enough. Her voice cut through Ellie's self-loathing, sharp and clear. "Ellie!" she cried for a third time, her hand gripping Ellie's face more firmly. "What?" Ellie replied, startled by the sudden force in Coco's tone, finally stopping her rambling, her eyes wide. Without warning, Coco took both sides of Ellie's head, pulling her down with a surprising strength for someone so small. Ellie gasped, her eyes widening in profound shock, as Coco's lips pressed firmly against hers. It was a desperate, unthinking act, fueled by frustration and a surge of unexpected feeling. Ellie's face flushed with a deep, undeniable shade of crimson, a mirror to Coco's own blush, which, though perhaps a shade or two lighter, was just as evident. Toby, observing the sudden interaction, tilted his head, his ears perked in curiosity. Coco pulled back slowly, her breath catching, and stared intently into Ellie's now silenced, baffled eyes. "You saved me," was all she said, her voice a soft, unwavering declaration. Ellie just stared, her mind a blank slate where her frantic thoughts had previously been. Ellie then reached up, her fingers tracing her still tingling lips with a puzzled expression, as if trying to decipher what had just happened. She looked back at Coco, who, despite the raw intensity of the moment, giggled softly at Ellie's utterly flustered reaction. "Dude," Ellie managed, the word a weak exhalation. "Did you just..." She trailed off, unable to complete the question. Coco looked away, a bashful smile playing on her lips. Was that a little much?" Coco asked, her voice barely a whisper. Ellie, a quivering, uncertain smile slowly spreading across her face, chuckled, a nervous, breathless sound. No. You, definitely got me to shut up." She stammered, the words tripping over each other. "I didn't think you... I mean, I had assumed, but no, not..." Coco looked back, her eyes soft and vulnerable. I have for a long time, Elle. Honestly, since we met all those years ago." Ellie's own hand, still wet with sand and water, gently reached out, resting atop Coco's. Their fingers interlaced instinctively as their eyes locked once more. Same," Ellie admitted, the word barely audible, both of them blushing anew. "I guess we both always knew. I was just worried that you wouldn't be interested." Ellie shook her head. No, I'm cool with it. Boys suck." Coco giggled. They sat there for a moment, suspended in the aftermath of their shared near-death experience and this new, unexpected intimacy, unsure of where to take the moment next. However, their quiet bubble was suddenly broken as Toby waddled up, nudging his way into Ellie's lap, and began enthusiastically licking her face. Ellie chuckled softly, the tension easing out of her shoulders as she pet the soaked mutt. Coco giggled again, the sound light and sweet. "It looks like you got 2 sets of kisses." Ellie sighed, leaning back against the cool sand. "I guess so." Before the weight of their confessions or Toby's affectionate onslaught could go on any further, a new sound cut through the air. A heavy, fast-moving rumble, a rhythmic thrum that vibrated through the ground beneath them. They all turned simultaneously, Toby's ears swiveling, looking to their new surroundings beyond their immediate beach. The landscape was a continuation of the strange, vivid land. The same orange forest stretched out in the distance, bathed in the perpetual, tinging rain that coated everything within the downpour. But now, before them, was a massive incline that led into a towering mountain face, dark and imposing against the muted sky. Carved within this mountain was a vast, imposing facility that hummed with unseen activity. A factory of some kind, its dark steel stretching deep into the rock. Attached to the mountain facility were several train tracks, elevated by tall skeletal support beams that crisscrossed the air. Whizzing by, high above them, was a singular train. It was golden, gleaming even in the dim light, and carried no carts, no cargo, just its sleek, metallic body making its way purposefully towards the largest entrance of the mountain factory. Ellie and Coco eyed it, and exchanged a look, one that was now laced with a shared sense of confusion. Then, Toby yipped a bark of recognition. He sprang out of Ellie's arms, having sensed someone he definitely knew well. Ellie glanced at the dog, who sprinted off, then back at Coco. I think we may have just found her.